I usually speak about whatever is going on in my life. So obviously this is easy for me because I'm going to speak about her. Now it's probably going to choke me up because, I don't have that. I don't know, whatever it is that you don't cry, but I don't have it. So, but anyway, I'll probably be emotional through this one. So I don't know. Maybe if you guys don't like it, just tell Dad. He won't ask me back. And that's okay. It's okay. I've got another job. All right. But anyway, I do enjoy coming back home. Anyway, so here's the title of my message, or here's the overall theme: things I want my daughter to know. That's something I think about on the daily. I teach high school, so in high school, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that high school is like the most vile time in a human's life. That's probably because I'm with them a majority of their day, but it's just the most vile time in their life, and they're trying to figure things out. They really don't know who they are. And I don't know, maybe what's even worse than high school is middle school. But thankfully I've skirted past this far with only having middle school like 1 year. So thank goodness. But I don't have to be with middle school. But high school, it just seems like it's just a rough time for kids. They're just figuring out what's going on. And honestly, going scientific, the part of the brain where it's not fully formed, where compassion is there. So it takes them a little while to learn compassion, to see what's going on with people. So it's hard for me not to picture my cute little baby Stella as a teenager. And I'm like, what is she going to be like? Who is she going to be like? Who is she going to hang out with? That kind of thing. So what I thought about, what I've been thinking about, what's been rolling around in my brain for a long time is things I want her to know whenever she gets older. And of course, since this is a sermon, we're going to add some Bible in there. We got to, right? Okay, that was a joke. That was a joke part, all right? I'm not serious, okay? I know this is a church. We got to add some Bible in there, all right? And I'm going to take another drink of water if I don't drop it. Thank you. So I first want to start out with, now, some of you guys are going to say something about me, but please don't. I'm going to start out with this. I don't want her to know, I don't want her to let her emotions direct action. Now, some of you might think, now, Kurt, you're being sexist, okay? No, it's totally PC, all right? No, just kidding. But seriously, though, I'm not just saying because, she's a girl. I'm just saying everybody lets their emotions, especially nowadays, everybody lets their emotions direct their actions. So that's one thing I want her to know is that doesn't have to happen. All right, we're going to go into a story. And maybe it's a story of you've heard before. I'm going to read just the main part, and then we're going to pray. And we'll look into it even more. Moses took the staff from the Lord's presence, just as he commanded him. And he and Aaron gathered the assembly together in front of the rock. And Moses said to them, "Listen, you rebels." Now, at my school, they'd be like, "Yeah," because we're the Richland rebels. But they, "Listen, you rebels. We must bring you water out of this rock." And then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water gushed out, and the community and the livestock drank. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you today, God. I pray that your words speak through me. I am just a human, and I am not worthy to be up here, but God, you make me worthy. So I pray that the words that you need spoken will be out here, and everybody will get to listen and get something from this. God, I pray for the rest of the service, for everybody in here. In your name I pray. Amen. So what's happening at this time? Well, Moses, he had previously led these people for about 40 days and nights. Okay, he just didn't leave out the nights, but he had led these people through the desert, Israelites through the desert, and through 40 days, 40 nights, they just left Egypt. And what had happened before, there was a rock that, let's even go back further than that. There was actually a piece of water, that the water was bitter. So in order, God directed Moses to throw another bitter stick, which bitter and bitter, I don't get it, but hey, it's Bible, you got to believe it. But bitter and bitter, you throw the stick in there and the water became drinkable. Okay, that was the first water crisis that happened. Then there was a second water crisis that happened, and then God said, all right, instead of throwing the stick because there's no water at all, he said, why don't you take your stick and hit the rock, and then water's going to pour out. And that so happened. And then now it kind of brings us here. Well, actually, it's fast forward 40 years, and now we're here. So I'm going to read you a little bit in the verse. It is Numbers 20, and I'm going to start with 2. And now there was no water for the community, and people gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron. They quarreled with Moses and said, if only we had died. Now, talk about dramatic, all right? Talk about dramatic. If only we had died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord community into this wilderness, and our livestock should die here? Why did you bring us out of Egypt to this terrible place? It has no grain or figs, grapevines or pomegranates. There is no water to drink. Moses and Aaron went from the assembly to the entrance of the tent meeting and fell face down. And the glory of the Lord appeared to them. Lord said to Moses, or I guess it would be Lord said to Moses, take the staff, and you and your brother Aaron gather the assembly together. Speak to the rock before their eyes, water will pour out. You will bring out the water in the community so the livestock can drink. So basically what this is, if you can't understand what the reading and my stammering, is that instead of hitting the rock like had previously done, Moses had, he's going to speak to it, just lightly. And this is kind of one of those stories. I mean, if you've been in church, you've heard it a few times. So he's supposed to speak to it. Now we're getting to the part I read before. So Moses took the staff in the Lord's presence, just as the Lord commanded him. So he's got the staff. Okay, nothing's going wrong here. And he and Aaron gathered the assembly together in front of the rock. And Moses said to him, okay, so still good, doing nothing wrong. He's got his staff. Listen, you rebels. Okay, maybe that's going a little off kilter there. Must we bring the water out of this rock? Okay. Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock. Whoa, that's not supposed to happen. He's just supposed to speak to it. And but the water still gushed. He actually shook it twice, and the water gushed out, and the community drank. So, but then the Lord said to Moses, because you did not trust me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land I gave them. Now that's something I found interesting, and this is where Moses actually did not go into the promised land because he disobeyed God right here. But see what to me another interesting. I'm going to say interesting like 1,000 times, so just get ready for it. If somebody has a counter, please just count me. Okay, again, I can't do anything if you guys don't laugh at these bad jokes, okay? Was brown and sticky a stick? Okay, is that better? Okay, I was trying to think of another joke, but it wasn't coming. They took mine. It was like, what time was the Dennis' favorite time? 2:30? That's my favorite. Yeah, the kids love me. Trust me. No, just kidding. Okay, back on track. So here's the kind of difference. Now, Christians, what they usually do, and I did some, of course, did some research for this message, but what Christians usually do, they'll focus on that last part. Focus on the part where Moses lost his temper, and that's a huge part. But when main Christian preachers and stuff do, that's what they'll focus on. But I actually, doing research for this, I looked at some other sources and some Jewish sources, okay? You know what Jews are? Jewish people, okay? They're like the pre-Christians. But Jesus was Jew, okay, all that. Hopefully, if you're in church, I assume you know it. But anyway, I looked at some Jewish sources, and they put more emphasis in the before this event. And I thought it was very interesting, very, very interesting. So they looked at, and of course, I went kind of weird on this one. I was like listening to these rabbis, and these guys can speak like Hebrew. That's crazy. Like, I can't do it. But man, they were like had it up there, and they were speaking it, and I'm like, cool. But they were focusing on Moses' sister. Now the pre-verse in here, the start of this whole thing was it said, there Miriam died and was buried. And I guess I didn't read that, sorry. But it said there Miriam was died and was buried. Now, if you don't remember who Miriam was actually Moses' sister. And if you don't remember the whole story of Moses' sister was the one who actually kind of guided or watched over Moses while he was thrown into the Nile River and then caught by the Queen of Egypt. You guys remember that? Or whatever she was. And that was Moses' sister. And actually, the Jewish people, and what they say is that whenever Moses struck the rock the first time at the second water crisis, he struck the rock at the first time, and the water started pouring out. That was actually, they called it Miriam's well. They called it Miriam's well. And then, going even further, they believe that, during this whole Exodus portion, that it says a water source followed the Israelite people, a water source. So they believe that this actual rock followed them through their whole journey and then gave them the water. Okay, that's pretty interesting, right? So they believe that this rock gave them the water this whole time, the same rock. And even in the Bible it says that rock, that specific rock. Okay, am I losing you? I hope so. No, just kidding. But I hope not. And here's the reason why. This sets up the story. She died, the rock's no longer giving water. So she died, the rock's no longer giving water, so something has to happen. Now, this is Moses' sister. He wasn't able to mourn this girl's death, this woman's death, because of all these people were so thirsty. All these people were so thirsty, he wasn't able to mourn the woman's death. So can you imagine somebody really, really close to you, not only close to you, but saved your life. Somebody who saved your life died, and you weren't able to mourn that person. Everybody's just in uproar because they're thirsty, thirsty, thirsty. Moses wasn't able to mourn. So he was sitting there, obviously angry, right? No water, so he was thirsty too. And these people were about to, go crazy on him. And, that's kind of the backstory of why he didn't listen to God. He let here's where it gets, his emotions get the best of him. He didn't act out in crying or anything, but he acted out in anger, took that staff, and then didn't get to go to the promised land. And like I said before, he had reasons. He had good reasons. I would say those would be good reasons to act out, right? I mean, like today we'd be like, heck yeah, that makes sense. He was mad. He had reasons to do that, but it's not what he should have done. So when I look at this and I look at, that sweet baby over there, I want her to know that even though you're in this pumped up state of emotion, that you don't have to act on it. Now, I believe that if people in general follow this rule, or at least high schoolers in general, again, that's what I teach high school. So if high schoolers follow this in general, we would have 99% less office referrals. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not just talking about women, because boys are just as bad. I'm telling you what, boys can start drama just as bad as girls can. All right? You've got to X out the drama. You've got to X out the emotion and work on a real decision. Especially being in love. Oh, that's an emotion, right? Being in love. Love makes you do crazy things. So, of course, I never did. Yeah, right. But you do stupid things when you're in love, or whenever you think you're in love. And whenever that happens, whenever you get, the problem is you don't know when you're in that emotional state. So the first step is to figure out, hey, I'm amped up. Something's going to happen. Realize when you're amped up, and then start to go, okay. I love it. Count to 10. That's what I tell my students. I say, hey, you're way too excited here. Count to 10. Not about the in love thing. Okay, that's getting weird. Just about an anger or something. All right, okay. Don't make that connection. But I said you're amped up now. Just count down. Count to 10. Count to 10. Just calm. Then you can make a good decision. So that's the first thing I want to teach Stella, or that's the first thing I want Stella to know. Emotions don't have to direct action. Now, this next thing I've actually spoken at this church about, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on, but it's an honorable mention, and I'm going to mention it. Always forgive. Okay, that's one of my main things. Always forgive. Don't let something sit a night in your heart, or even if it's a night, don't let it sit the next day. Now, again, I know, like I'm saying, this whole thing's based on high school girl action, but sorry, but this is what I see. These boys too. Let these things, eat them alive, and in church too. And I'm not away from this either. I let this affect me too. You let something bad happen to you, eat you alive for months or years. Sometimes you won't get over it. Forgive them. Forget about it. If you want to know more, just search Forgiveness Church, boom, on YouTube. You'll find a lot of good videos. Hopefully. Now's a good time. I'm going to take another drink. So wait for it. Good job. All right. This next one is going to be shorter than Moses. But to me, there is little more important, besides, the given ones about Jesus and stuff. There's little more important than having great character. There is little more important than having great character. That's a good message right there. No, I'm just kidding. But there's little more important than having great character. Now, when we look at this, when we look at great character, what is character? Or integrity is another word I like to use. Integrity. Be a person of integrity. Honesty. Be a person of honesty. And as part of great character, as part of great integrity, I think we see a good story in the Bible. It's of Naomi and Ruth. Not this Ruth, but Naomi and Ruth. Of course, hopefully you guys have heard the story before. Read Ruth. It's like between Judges and Samuel, and it's between Judges and Samuel, and it's about 4 chapters long, taking no time. So read it anyway. The story of Naomi and Ruth. Now Naomi, her husband died, and she had 2 sons. Ruth married one of the sons, and the son died. The son died? That kind of sounds weird, but anyway, the son died. So Ruth and Naomi, and then the other in-law, or the other sister-in-law, whatever you want to call her, to Ruth, they were all there, and it was a famine, so they really didn't know what to do. But then they heard that maybe in Bethlehem it's a little bit better. Okay, so they decided, okay, we'll go to Bethlehem. But here's the thing: if Naomi gives her blessing, Ruth can go off and marry somebody else and stay in her home country. And the other daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, she did. She's like, I'm out. Okay, she didn't really want to leave, but she's like, I'm out if you're really pushing me. But Ruth stayed with her. All right. So Ruth had enough character, had enough integrity to stay with her through this long journey. And even, this is a great quote, and there's like a song about it, whatever. But a great quote. And Ruth stayed with her through this whole journey. It said, don't urge, because, Naomi was like, I understand. Go marry somebody else. I understand. Go marry somebody else. Go live your life. But Ruth's like, nah, I got this. She's like, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I go. And where you stay, I stay. Your people will be my people. And your God, my God. Where you die, I will die. And there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. So that's commitment. That's that commitment to somebody. And just being honest, I don't know very many people who would say that to their in-laws, especially if you know what happened to her. I love my in-laws, okay? I'll say that first. I love my in-laws, all right? And but I don't know very many people who would say that, right? Like there's no connection there, but she stayed with her because Naomi needed her. And you know what? This is what I love. Do you know what was so special about Ruth? Naomi kind of hooked her up with a dude, Boaz. Yo, what's up? My name is Boaz. Kind of sounds like a rapper. I don't know. But it's a guy named Boaz. And they ended up, having a son, I believe. I didn't write it down. But she ended up being like the great-great-grandmother of David. So it's like the short story in between these two great stories. Man, it's awesome. But having that character, having that integrity is super important. Like I said, in high school, it's a vile place. I don't know. You guys just looking at me, but high school it can be this bad place, and I'm just up here looking at him like down above. I'm like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen today? But yeah, it's this place where backstabbing is no big deal, lying is no big deal. You hear these people lie all the time. Like I said, I'm not away from it. I do it too. Or I mean, I did it too. Of course, I don't lie now. But I did it too, like they did embellish things, and like you're just sitting there behind your computer just rolling your eyes, okay? But, or whatever. But they, you see this all the time. And especially whenever you get into the workforce, if you don't learn this early, then it's not second nature whenever you get older. Because if you get into the workforce and you get in that situation where, hey, you could do this, and it would really help us out. Or you could do this, and it's the right thing to do, but you know what? You might lose your job. What do you do? That is what I like to call a gray area. Because, technically it's not gray. It's like black and white. You choose one, it's a good thing. Choose one, it's a bad thing. But what do you do? If I were an employer, if I were an administrator looking at it as a school's perspective, I would choose that person who said, no, I'm not going to, hey, I live in Malden. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick up for what I believe in, and I'm not going to do that. Right? That's integrity. That's what I look for, my baby girl, to have integrity, honesty. And it's learned. Good night. I'm going to drink one more time. Y'all ready? Now I get choked. All right, I'm done. See you guys. No. I got one last little thing. If the band wants to come up, that's fine. This is the last part, guys. And the last thing that I want my daughter to know when she gets older. Now this is going to be the hard one for me. I think it's the most important. Daddy loves you. Daddy loves you. Daddy is always there for you. My school is not in a very that's not the bad part. Come on, Kurt. My school is not in a very economically rich place. Very poor. I would say even for Doniphan, very poor. I don't want to say bad about it, you guys. But I don't know what to say. But Doniphan's high class compared to this. No. But I went to school there, okay, whatever. But very, very poor place. A lot of broken families. And you can handpick the students out of there with families still together just by the way they act. You could pick the ones that still have fathers in their life just by the way they act. You teachers in here, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you can handpick these ones that have this family together just by the way they act. My favorite verses, some of my favorite verses. I'll never let you down. I'll never walk off I'll never leave you. We can boldly quote God in there, ready to help, and fearless, no matter what, who or what can get to me. Look, this is the key here. I'll quote another one. Keep your lives, and this is one about marriage, but it works perfect. Keep your lives free from the love of money and content with who you have, because God said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. This is the kind of love I want to have with my little daughter. I looked down at that face whenever she was first born, and I just looked at her and I just thought, what could she do that would ever give her love up? Nothing. I've heard this 100 times, but that's the moment I realized what kind of love God has for us. That love that never ends. I just feel bad for the people who don't believe, honestly. Because without that, I don't know where I'd be. So Daddy loves you. Daddy will never leave you. Neither will God. Do not let your heart be troubled. But you believe in God. Believe in me also, Jesus. My Father's house has many rooms. That's the way I want my house to be. Whenever she gets older, whenever she gets past high school, whatever she does, or she goes in the workforce, goes to college, I want my house, I want Daddy's house to be a place of comfort. You as a church, that's what this house needs to be. A place of comfort. A place to come home to. Like I'm doing today. So look, hey, my messages are always scattered. They're all over the place. That's how my brain works. But I hope you grab this today. This place is still going to be here. The people here are still going to be here. And they're going to love you. You can always come home to Dad, to God. I want to pray, and then let's do a song at the end here for the altar call. And if you feel that on your heart today, that maybe you don't know what that love is, and you want to accept that love, do it now. If you maybe lost your way from that love, do it now. Make things right. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you today. God, I know I'm a babbling mess, but I love you. And I hope one day my Stella will too. Dear God, I pray that everyone in this room will find the way to Jesus. Find the way to you through Jesus. God, and with your name I pray. Amen.